Santa Maria della Cava Underground Church. According to a pilgrim who was mentioned as an anonymous Englishman to the Holy Land by Muqaqqab, who visited Cyprus in 1344-1345, there is an underground chapel of Lord de Cavata where many English soldiers were buried. Enlardt mentioned it as one of the most famous churches of Famagusta, with the name of St. Mary Hydria. The Cana, Cava, or the Sena appeared as early as 1300. The name of this shrine in Italian is the Madonna della Cava, or Our Lady of the Cave in English. According to Philip of Mesures, this church was outside the city, near one of the gates, and Enlardt considered that it was probably near the Cava gate. Famagusta has only three existing historic gates: the Limassol gate on the south, the Sea gate, and the Arsenal gate on the east. Before the construction of Martinengo bastions during the Venetian period, at the left corner of it, there used to be another gate, Porta di Cava, within the San Luca bastion, which was on the northwest corner of the city walls and was also called Capo or Cavo, as mentioned in 1373. Santa Maria della Cava Church is described to be near the port in 1373, and Giacomo da Verona defined the location of this church as outside Famagusta at a distance of 2 throws. Therefore, it should have been at a distance of 400 to 600 meters, as the average range of medieval bows is estimated at around 200 to 300 meters. In 1598 to 1599, a Dutch pilgrim named John van Kotwijk visited an underground chapel located about 200 steps from the walls of Famagusta, which was most probably the same church. It is accessed by 36 steps according to Giacomo da Verona. In 1683, Cornelis van Brooyen, a Dutch traveler, visited an underground church in Famagusta, which was accessible down 24 steps. Currently, this church has 20 external and 5 internal stairs. According to James of Verona, who visited Cyprus in 1335, St. Mary of Cava is one of the burial places. Similarly, an anonymous Englishman suggested the massive presence of corpse inside and outside such a tiny chapel could sound more logical if the Madonna della Cava site were to be identified as an important burial place in 1344. Therefore, the place can be said to be the cemetery of certain Christian faithful. Theophilus Amin Halil Muqaqqab, who was the director of the Department of Antiquities during the first half of the 20th century, was the first archaeologist who excavated the site, discovered this church, and defined it as Santa Maria della Cava in contemporary times. According to Muqaqqab, this is 21 feet below the ground and has an area of 43 feet by 20 feet and 4 inches. It has a dromos approach with 20 steps, a 13-foot passage, and another 4 steps from the entry, which completes the access to the interior of the church. Muqaqqab believes that this cave church used to belong to the Latin cult, at least during the 14th century. Muqaqqab in 1939 indicates that the layout of the site, obviously modified since its description, despite the construction of the British administration of a wall around the access to avoid vandalism, indicates the use of this chapel by clerics of the Latin Rite and not Oriental. After the excavation, the neighboring land was bought to build a boundary wall around the area. According to Muqabbab, this church was dedicated to a blessed virgin, and there were water pots from Cana in Galilee in which the Lord changed water into wine, referring to Christopher Forer, who visited the site in 1566, and Dapper, who visited the site in 1700 and mentioned that this church possessed one of the 7 water pots of the marriage of Cana. This underground church is about 7 meters below the ground and measures about 14 by 9 meters. The eastern wall is hollowed out in a sort of apse round. One of the walls of this underground chamber had been painted with painted designs as stated by the Vivere and colleagues in their work of 2006. This underground chamber was used both as a chapel, as it has an altar, and a burial place due to the discovery of human bones and an entire skeleton, and was considered to provide special protection against the danger of navigating. The seafarers customarily went there to render thanks for a safe voyage. As mentioned by Giacomo de Verona, as soon as ships anchored in Famagusta, all seafarers were expected to perform a ritualized act of homage to their protectress in her specific shrine. Baji mentioned the descriptions of Giacomo da Verona, who witnessed this underground church, as follows. It is well lighted, decorated, and painted, even if it is of tiny dimensions. Indeed, all those who come from the sea immediately go there. There are 3 chaplains who continuously stay there because of the constant access to people. According to some first-hand accounts, the site was attended by both Greeks and Latin and was also used as a sacred place for each specific rites of the community, as it was indicated by the Italian pilgrim Nicola de Martoni in 1394. The wall paintings of this church in which red and purple colors are dominant, are not in good condition. Muqabbab in 1936 mentioned that the paintings were essentially heraldic, but in the majority of cases, the furniture of the echoes was so much left and they had become indecipherable. There is a well on the left side of the interior, just near the entrance of the church. It might be used as a ritual gift-giving, as well as it was usual for the ceremonies held in the old burial places. There are 2 roof lights on the right and left sides of the roof near the apses and far from the entrance. They bring light to the interior of the church near the apses, and the light coming from the entrance door makes the other parts of the interior of the church bright. There is an outstanding rock in the ceiling just on the right side and above the well, which is most probably used for hanging objects or lighting candles. There are some burnt candles in the apses of this church, which shows that some people still believes in the holiness of the place as a sanctuary place and worship there, but unfortunately, there are unwanted plantations and humidity inside the building. The apse is on the northeast side of the church and the entrance is on the southwest. On the northeast wall, there is a semicircular apse in the middle of the wall, and on the right side, there is a small square-shaped indent and a big rectangular one. On the left of the apse, there is another rectangular niche that must have been for holding ceremonies and ritual relics. There is one niche in the northwest wall near the entrance, and there is another one in the northeast wall near the apse.